Welcome to Detangle, where we untangle the complexities of life one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Kinjal Goel, a psychologist and a writer. We have a wonderful guest today and a very beautiful episode indeed. Our guest is Sanjana Chatlani, the founder of the Bombay Lettering Company, a calligrapher by profession and the owner of a business that is soaked in old world charm and new age clients. Oh, and we have a special rapid fire at the end of this episode, so do stay tuned till the very end. Welcome, Sanjana. Such a pleasure to have you on Detangle with me today.
Thank you, Dr. Kindral, and I'm so excited to be here and really loving what you're doing with the podcast.
Thank you so much. So let's get started, Sanjana. At the outset, tell us about your scope of work, your experience, and what you've been doing all these years.
So I run the Bombay Lettering Company. We are a boutique design and calligraphy studio. It really started out of a passion and a little bit of a creative outlet 7 years ago. I was very much climbing up the corporate ladder and working for a French wines and spirits company
Hmm.
when I happened to discover calligraphy, which also came to me by chance. And, I feel like the universe plays funny games with all of us. And one thing sort of led to another. I started with a very strong focus on just calligraphy as the art form. I spent a couple years really, really working hard on developing those skills, enjoying it as an art form, building a business around it. And I feel very organically over the years, we've branched out into the next obvious steps and spaces around it, which is stationery, paper goods, design, branding, and that's really where we are today. So still figuring, still exploring, but it's a very exciting journey.
How lovely. I think in this whole tech and AI age, the pure luxury is now what is handmade and man made. And it's going to get
Mm.
rarer, but it's going to get more and more precious as time goes by.
100%. I feel today, uh, anything made by hand is your luxury. It shows warmth, it shows effort, it shows care. It comes at a cost and it comes at a premium. And people who really value that are even willing to spend on that because everything around us is so standardized that calligraphy actually adds that human touch back into things.
True. And personally, I simply love the feel of pen on paper. I think it's the most underrated therapy ever. Do you believe that too?
Of course. I feel like even something as simple as putting down your to-do list for the day. We're still the old school, very, very old school people who love writing down in a notebook. I mean, you and I were discussing, we just launched our 2025 planners as well,
Right.
where there is still a huge market and a huge group of people who like to write down their lists and their tasks every single day because there is something about putting pen to paper, writing it down, etching it and having it in front of you, which I don't think typing it out on a phone or a tablet can really replace.
I think it's beautiful because we have the haptic feedback. We have that little scratch that the pencil gives you.
Exactly.
It's what we
Exactly.
crave. I mean, no matter how much the tech giants are trying to emulate it, it's so simple. It's right there, it's in front of you. But people are still trying to get something out of tech which we have without it anyway.
Yeah. And of course, we've also seen that studies do also show that writing something down actually is way better for you to even memorize or learn or whatever it is, that process of writing it down on paper
True, it's
is
the
something
muscular
that's
memory in play.
it's
Yes,
all
you're right.
about that. And that's the same thing with calligraphy because what we're really doing is building our muscle memory when you're creating your strokes and when you're writing. So it's quite interesting how it's all kind of related.
True. Tell me from a business perspective, Sanjana, how do you see the market changing? Have you seen the demand of certain products go up or down, or do you think it's all the same?
It's really interesting, but because when I started in 2017, 2018, uh, calligraphy, of course, was known, but it wasn't trending. I feel like it was trending in the US when I discovered it, whereas being a calligraphy artist was a profession. Over here, people would look at me confused and wonder how I made money, or if it really was a thing, or if it even whether I don't know if people even took me seriously because they didn't quite understand how you could build a business around it. I do feel like it is niche, of course. And I do feel like we have to educate our audiences because a lot of people don't know the difference between what's hand done, what's printed, what's calligraphy, or what's just good handwriting. So I feel in the beginning for me, it was a lot of educating my audience, talking to my Instagram followers, explaining my process, breaking things down, going into the technicalities a little bit, because that's really when people even appreciated it and valued it a bit more. I feel back in the day, I got a lot of intrigue and in a great way. And, people were interested to know more and more. Today, I see the market has evolved a lot. There are a lot more calligraphers in India. In a way, it's good because the more of us, it means, the bigger the market, the bigger the industry. But, there are also people coming in thinking they can make a quick buck doing something or not really studying it deeply in the best way possible. So there are pros and cons that I've seen for sure, but I've definitely seen the market grow, if anything, and I've seen people really want to pay for that added luxury because I feel calligraphy is not a necessity for any project or anything we're doing. It's that added luxury, and there are so many people who want that as well.
Actually, what you're saying is so true. This younger generation on Instagram has a very rigorous curiosity. If they see
Yeah,
something they like, they do want to know more. And if the
yeah.
right information percolates, then they're very happy to explore something which is, new to the market, new to society. So it's a very nice space to be in.
And I think, what worked really nicely in the beginning for me is I was very curious. So I was always trying to see what I could do with my calligraphy in a commercial sense or as a product. So I never became an artist who was creating art on canvases that you'd hang up in your house or on a wall. But I became the artist that was creating a nameplate for your home. If
Right.
you see the difference. So I was using calligraphy as the hero or the forefront of a product that was usable for people. And a lot of times when you follow calligraphers or artists on Instagram, you might see something beautifully written, your name, a word, a poem, and you'd appreciate it, but you may not know how to avail that artist's services. But what we kept trying to do from the beginning was show people how they could avail our services. So I'd show, a signage, which was an entry signage for the wedding function, or I would show, I would show how, like I spoke about nameplates for homes. So how your name could be designed in calligraphy and created in the form of a nameplate. Or if you were having a sit-down dinner and you wanted to have each person's names beautifully written down on their place cards and their menus. So always showing people how the service of calligraphy could be availed to them.
Lovely. So the business acumen and the creative side had to merge. I mean, otherwise it wouldn't be a sustainable art form if you were not bringing business into it, obviously.
I feel it really boils down to what you want from it, from anything. I've realized and learned that there's no right or wrong. I feel like today, as creative business owners, entrepreneurs, the beauty is that we can build this dream business of ours to be exactly what we want it to be. And for me, I realized that I enjoy this. I love this. I love I loved building a business around the art form. But that also came with over the years today, I feel me doing a lot less calligraphy and me being more business owner, managerial, uh,
Of
admin,
course.
everything. But that's something I think I've embraced and enjoyed. Whereas a lot of artists might, try going that route and realize that I'm losing my core of doing what I love most. And that's a decision I guess one takes as well.
True. So tell me, Sanjana, writing by itself, like we spoke, is therapeutic, but calligraphy is the most elevated script there is. Do you find it to be calming, or do you think the finesse required can be stressful at times?
That's an interesting question. Most of the time, it's extremely calming. It
Mhm.
is an art form that I genuinely feel it's therapeutic. I feel it is meditative. I feel it centers you because in the moment of writing, you have to forget about everything else around you. All you're focusing on is your breath, the touch of the nib on the paper, your strokes, and going as precisely and carefully as you can, because the beauty lies in that precision.
True.
You're working at with specific angles, specific ratios. It's actually very technical. And in the beginning, it may seem when you're learning, it can feel a little frustrating because it's not as easy as it looks. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of building of muscle memory, a lot of hand-eye coordination as well. And once you get the hang of it and you're in the flow and the rhythm of it, that's when it begins to feel really, really amazing.
So it's both. It's a lot of, maybe it's a labor of love,
It's a
but
labor of love.
eventually.
And I think you have to have that um, sense of perfection, attention to detail to be really good at this because it cannot, that chalta hai attitude, like, oh, it's okay if it's almost like this, or it's okay if it's not
Hmm.
looking perfect. You can't. To be extremely good at calligraphy as an art, you have to be that stickler for the attention to detail. And that's the thing when you're learning it as well, because in the beginning, you have to follow the rules to the T. You have to learn a style or what we call a script perfectly until you've mastered the stroke so well that you can break the rules to be creative and develop a style of your own. But that's a process that takes years. Because in the beginning, you're trying to just copy, you're trying to memorize, you're trying to theoretically understand everything. And once you've built and developed the skills really, really well, is when you develop your own unique style. Like every artist you see, you can identify an MF Hussain, you can identify a Raza, you can identify a Picasso without reading the artist's name. In calligraphy, too, you can identify an artist's work sometimes without reading the name or the signature because they've developed a style that's very unique to them.
Wow, that's something I wasn't aware of.
Yeah. You want to be able to do that eventually. You want to fill and add your personality, your touch, your experiences, because otherwise it's just going to look like any other exemplar that there is out there.
True.
Actually, this is quite interesting because I was giving a talk at a calligraphy festival last year, and I was asked about my process of learning, and I broke it up into two parts, being the tangibles and the intangibles. Where I
Hmm.
said the tangibles are what you'd follow, which is the textbook method, which is very, very important, which is, okay, reading about the style you're learning, understanding the rules, going through the process of beginning with pencil, mastering the shapes, understanding the proportions, basically being able to copy it identically to the book you're referring to. But that alone does not make you an artist. You now need to weave in the intangibles, which is bringing in you, your personality, your touch, your experiences, uh, and adding your flavor into that to be able to develop your own style. And a good teacher will always make you do both. They'll help you identify your intangibles because that's where the personality comes out in the work.
And that's very well put. It makes it very visible for a person who's not aware of the process, but now it just makes a little more sense to everyone. So tell me,
Yeah.
we've spoken about, all the challenges that business owners face, especially young business owners. But has
Mm.
there been that one moment that simply made all this worthwhile, the pinnacle of joy for you in this business?
I've had multiple. I think
Yeah. Tell us a few. Tell us your
as
top
a
two
as a
moments.
as a creative business owner, even a small business owner, I feel, and especially someone juggling being an artist and a business owner, it's been
Hmm.
challenging because you're always trying to find that balance. You're always very hard on yourself when the business side takes over and you're not getting enough time to be the artist, and vice versa. And I guess, like anybody trying to build a business, it is not easy. But there are those moments where it makes it also worth it. A few, of course, that I can that I can tell you about. Well, one was when I was approached to do the calligraphy and be the calligrapher on site for Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas's wedding. I think
Wow.
that was a really, really a nice moment when I got that call. And they asked me to work on the project, and I was on site. And when I reached the Umaid Bhavan Palace, we had to deposit our phones
Hmm.
because you couldn't take any photos, and they had to make my lanyard, the ID card. And they said, okay, so which department are you from? Is it hair, makeup? Is it decor? I was like, oh no, I'm the calligrapher. And the lady sitting there said, excuse me? I said, yeah, I'm the
Oh, wow.
calligrapher. I'm gonna be on site. I have to write all the seating charts, the place cards, the menus. And they wanted me there on site because in case there were any changes at the last moment, you had to be there to do it. And the woman sitting there said, I've been in events for 20 years, but I've never made a lanyard for a calligrapher on site. And
How
this
nice.
is
What a
really
beautiful
cool.
validation, also.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa, okay, this feels great. So that
Of
was one
course.
moment where I said, okay, cool. We're creating a category in India where not too many people know of or have heard of, and we're getting that respect as well. So that was one that was great. Another moment was really nice when Deepika Padukone DM'd me on Instagram, and out of nowhere, and said, hi, Sanjana, this is Deepika. I've been following your work and I wanted to get something done. Can we connect? And just like that, 2 days later, I was in her house and working with her on a project. Uh, I think, I guess these are from the form of validation where you feel like
Of course, to be
um,
seen, to be known, it's just such a nice, beautiful
it's
feeling.
been great. But some of the moments that have been actually super, just heartwarming and touching for me was actually when I taught an autistic child calligraphy, a child with special needs, and the way he reacted to learning with me, and how 5 years later his parents actually met me thanking me. So I taught him in 2019 and we met them in 24. And the way they have spoken about how that calligraphy class helped him over these years to discover art for himself, and how he's taken on lettering in almost like a professional way today, was something that really made me feel like it's so, like we spoke about it being therapeutic, it's actually very, very helpful um, in the form of therapy as well. And when you can
So
help
nice.
someone,
No, this kind of brings it back to the tangibles and the intangibles. So you have the
yeah,
tangible validation and you have the intangible one, and both are so important.
yeah, it's seeing those reactions when you give someone the finished product, the reactions on their face, the feedback you get, being a part of someone's very, very special moment. Because when we do calligraphy and stationery, you're also playing a little role in a very big milestone celebration for someone.
Of
And
course.
seeing people be so appreciative of it makes it all worth it.
How nice. So we spoke about the planners a while ago. You've made these beautiful
Yeah.
planners. I've seen them. I have one. But tell me,
Yes.
out of the thousand sold, do you think, I mean, how many do you think will actually be fully filled up? I personally find myself using the first few pages very diligently. And every year I
Yeah.
have that planner which is a little empty, a little too empty maybe. But what do you think happens?
Yeah, but there are a few people I know for sure who are extremely enthusiastic in the beginning of the year, um, and then it kind of fizzles out. There's a big group of people, including my team and I, who use our planners like our Bibles for the whole year. I
How
am
nice.
like, I can't live without it because I need it every single day. And we were really reaching out to the people who do write every day, who for whom you cannot replace writing on a paper with a tablet or something digital. And what we've really tried to do with these planners is, um, if you've probably seen in yours, every month starts with a quote. We've
Yes.
tried to, try to ensure that we're motivating you and inspiring you every month with a different attribute, reminding you of little things like kindness or being creative or loving yourself or striving for success or investing in yourself because that's the best investment you can make. And, hopefully, connecting with people on a level where we're telling them that we're here, we care, we hear you. We're hoping that, these bring little reminders to you every single day. We've spent a lot of time um, researching on the paper, the quality, the accessories, the size, the thickness. I feel it's been a really amazing and interesting exercise for us and learning for us as well. And I'm hoping that we can really find the right audience who does appreciate all of this as well.
So let me add my two bit to this. When I was going through your planner and I was going through the quotes, well done on that. It's looking and sounding so good. But then my
Thank you.
14-year-old comes in and she just sees, Mama, what is that? And she starts going through the planner herself. And it took her less than 10 seconds to say, Mom, I'm taking this. Which means the minimalist aesthetic works even for teens. The whole
Mm.
look and feel worked for two generations when both of us liked the same thing.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
that
not
makes me so
easy.
happy. You
Yeah,
know, the
sometimes,
I've always been obsessed with stationery, and a planner was a very natural first product for us to launch because uh, we're paper junkies, and we're just like,
of course.
oh my God. But what was tricky was, yes, we are a design studio as well, but today a lot of people know Bombay Lettering for calligraphy. And I
Hmm.
said, how do we use calligraphy as the core design element? I don't need flowers, paintings, illustrations. I want to just use calligraphy as the hero throughout this product. And that is our design element. And that's really what we went for. And I mean, everyone knows, people who know me know that we're quite minimal, we're quite understated. But I
Yeah.
just kind of played on that. And, I said, okay, this is our first year. Let's see how it goes. And well, thankfully, we got a good enough.
Yeah. No, it's the epitome of quiet luxury. It really shows through. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell me, if you had to give your younger self some advice, let's say you met a 12-year-old Sanjana, what would you tell her?
Oh, um, to be curious, to constantly be searching, stepping out of her comfort zone, trying new things, not being too hard on herself, because I feel like the minute you are open and fluid and just go with the flow, I feel like really beautiful things can happen. I'm not saying don't have a plan in place, but I feel sometimes we're very, very hard on ourselves, at least in terms of like career and, like what's the right thing to do. And I feel like sometimes if you're just honest, curious, and hardworking, things really fall into place for you.
I heard something very interesting recently on another podcast where they said what the next generation needs is agility over ability. So you have to be
Mm,
able to adapt. And I think that's what you're saying. It's
100%.
so important to grow, to have the ability, but also to be able to move on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, because I feel like the way the world is moving today, you have to flow, maneuver, adapt. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy. You're constantly going to be unhappy as well. And I feel like just accepting the fact that it's such a like fast, like rapidly evolving space that we're in, and just look at that as an exciting challenge rather than, uh, you know, like the negatives of it.
Absolutely well said. I think there's no way to avoid it. So if you can't avoid
Yeah,
it, might
just
as well
embrace
accept it and
it.
move on. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Well, Sanjana, I'm sure you've heard of a physical first aid box. Something in which we keep our painkillers, antiseptics, etc. for those minor
yeah,
cuts and bruises. But
yeah.
what if I told you to have an emotional first aid box? Something which you could open on one of those days when you're just feeling low, when you're feeling empty, and this box would make you instantly happy. What would you personally
Mm.
put in it?
My dog to start with.
How nice.
Oh my God. We have a golden retriever.
Hmm.
He is the biggest stress buster. He is full
Wow.
of love, full of life. I think everyone at home, he's really even brought a lot of like happiness and even brought us closer, I feel, as a family. So yeah, my dog, definitely. I feel CJ is something that instantly uplifts all of us. A good game of tennis for me really does the trick.
Hmm.
I play tennis. It's almost like my other form of therapy. Tennis, CJ, a glass of wine sometimes.
That's an
Um,
interesting box coming together.
calligraphy, to be honest, as well.
Of course.
Yeah, it's something I go to when I even want to shut off and just like focus on my breathing. Um, yeah, and of course, like the people around me who I love. We're very, very close as a family. My parents, my brother, and me. So they're definitely my go-to people for anything as well.
Well, that's a wholesome box for you right there. Let's get into a rapid fire round now, Sanjana. I know you're looking forward to this one, so let me get into this like
Oh
really
gosh.
fast. So tell me, what's your favorite book?
Oh man. Okay, I don't have like all-time favorites. I'm very like I keep changing.
Okay.
So something I recently read that I loved and resonated with was Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great book. I'm also currently in the process of reading a book called The E-Myth. I keep fluctuating and changing, but one of my, okay, fiction all-time favorites could be 40 Rules of Love.
Oh wow, Elif
That
Shafak
was a
always
beautiful
rules.
book. Yeah.
Okay, your favorite movie character.
This one I just can't think of.
Okay, we're gonna keep this fluid and empty for now. When you fill it up, we're
Okay.
gonna come back to this one, okay? Your
Yeah.
biggest pet peeve.
When something is not center aligned, or you can instantly catch like a graphic design somewhere when you're out, and that's something that really ticks me off.
Wow, I can actually see it. I mean, it just gave me that little ick right now. Okay, the
Right.
one thing you believed in but no longer do.
Ooh. I think I believed in conventions and I no longer do. Seeing my own life, seeing the way I've been going, my journey, breaking my rules, breaking my boundaries. I just feel like even running the Bombay Lettering Company over the last couple of years has shown me that I've become so unconventional in my ways and I'm really doing things I never expected or imagined I could do.
Ah, nice. What's your most prized possession?
I have this small Swarovski paperweight that my Nana had given me when I was 6 or 7 or something. When I came home really, really, really upset from school one day, and it was one of the saddest days I had. And he gave it to me, and it was his, or I don't even remember the nitty-gritties of the story, but it turned out to be something that became a good luck charm for me because every time I was sad, I would hold it and I'd just like things would work out and I'd feel happy. And it's really weird, but I just have that with me. It's like next to me on my desk since then. And
How nice.
it just somehow just feels very calming when I hold it.
How beautiful. So, Sanjana, is there a question that you have for me as a psychologist?
Yeah, I do actually.
Go
How do
ahead.
you, something I think about because I feel like you interact with people, you talk to people, you're here to help people solve um, their problems, feel better. How is it difficult or easy to separate it from your life? Does it trickle into your mood, your day to day, your everything? That's one part of my question. And the second part is the way people come to you. Um, what do you do for a release, or what do you do when you need help? Do you speak to someone? Do you go to a psychologist? Or what is your way of dealing?
Wow, so that's two really big questions. Let me try and answer them to the best of my ability. Well, to answer the first question, a patient is in therapy once when they come to the psychologist and they are talking, that is their therapy. But a
Yeah,
therapist is always in therapy because every patient changes you in a little way. Every patient helps you discover, explore, so you're constantly emotionally invested. I wouldn't say it affects me in a negative way in the long term because, of course, we're taught to be objective with emotions. We're taught how to deal with emotions in a better way. We try our best to help people, but we don't give any advice. So, we are not the ones who are the enlightened people who are telling people what to do with their lives and how to solve problems. It's basically helping people explore their own processes. And the most beautiful part is when they actually have a breakthrough moment or a eureka moment and they come and say, oh, it's just so much clearer now. The fog has lifted. So it leaves you happier, it leaves you content that, this works and this is science, this is not art, this is not some voodoo magic. So to be able to
yeah,
put those principles that you studied, put it in front of the patient and see how they get better is just so nice. Of
yeah,
course, therapists also have to undergo therapy professionally. Most of us have therapy sessions at least once in 2 weeks with another professional. We all would do it for each other because it helps us keep a distance. It helps us stay, grounded and sane in many
yeah.
ways. So, yes,
Hmm.
we do it and it really, really helps. I mean, I would not miss my therapy session like I would not miss the gym because it just makes you feel stronger. You're building
Yeah,
up emotional muscle like you need to build up physical muscle. So it's
Yeah.
extremely important. And I also enjoy calligraphy. I also enjoy writing. So I go back to my pen and paper. I do a lot of writing. I'm a writer. So I will go back to writing my stories. I will go back to, doing a lot of other creative things that I do apart from
Mm,
psychology. And that's, I think, the opposite of depression is not really anything else but expression. And when you can create something.
mm. Yeah.
So I try my best to keep creating and to help people create more, even when they're feeling good.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
So, but this has been such an amazing conversation, Sanjana. I was speaking to a few people before our recording, and they said, really, I mean, you have a calligrapher on your podcast. How does that fit in? And I said, this is the most beautiful synergy you can find between psychology, creativity, and business. I mean, what else would bring everything together like this? And this conversation has been so amazing. We've spoken about business, we've spoken about startups, we've spoken about, just raw creativity and passion. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad that I was able to ask you so many questions, discuss so many things with you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the episode.
No, thank you
And
for having me. I think, I guess when you find like when you get to talk about your passion and talk about what you love, it's always a treat and it's always so amazing to be able to share it and also get different perspectives and, um, like today we spoke about, I guess, the therapeutic, the calming side of calligraphy a little more. And it's so nice that even like for people to know that. And there are times I'm having conversations more on like the business side of things where you're like hustling and running around and really just, trying to do the best you
yes.
can, I guess. But
And
yeah,
also,
interesting.
I think this is a generation which is adapting a lot of slow hobbies. Crocheting is back, knitting is back. I'm sure calligraphy is also coming back in the same way. I hope a lot of people pick it up even as a hobby, if not an art form, because it will help. It'll help so many people discover who they really are.
100%. And it's been so amazing to see people, the reasons people come to me to learn calligraphy. I've had people who've been going through a tough time and want to just sit with themselves and want to do something calming. I had a woman who was in a long distance marriage and wanted to write love letters to her husband and
How
courier them
beautiful
to
is
him.
that?
And she
Wow.
said, I want to pick this up so that I can write to him because this is the first time we're doing long distance and I want to be able to write that letter to him. And, like I've had kids come to learn because they want to make sure that their projects look absolutely amazing. So
How
the
nice.
kind of reasons and ways that people want to come and learn the art form has also been so amazing.
I mean, we wish you all the best with your tangible and non tangible projects. Wish you lots and lots of success, Sanjana.
Thank you so much.